Scott Galloway is Professor of Marketing at NYU School of Business. He writes, if 2021 is the year of the bubble, 2022 may be the year of the pop. He's with me from New York. Everybody wants to know, and I realise that at 5 o'clock your predictions for this year, you will be releasing them, and for 2022 you'll be releasing them in a live stream, and we'll be showing where people can watch those predictions. If you had to before we get to next year, if you had to gauge your successes from last year on your predictions, what do you think?
Better to be lucky than good. This year, things worked out. We predicted that Bitcoin would hit $50,000. We predicted that that AT&T would divest assets, that CNN would go behind a paywall, and that Jack Dorsey would be ousted from Twitter. What we didn't get right, I thought Peloton would be acquired, but I think we got about 7 of the 10 correct. So last year we did all right, Richard.
All right, now then, what about this year? I see that your main predictions are coming out shortly, but you're basically saying that, I'm reading from what you said, the Zuckerverse is the biggest tech fallout that there's going to be.
Yeah, I think that, so there are already several metaverses, whether it's Twitter or Fortnite or FIFA. We have a lot of metaverses that already exist, but one of the keys to a metaverse, and if you think about a metaverse, it's a series of internet services connected together by one operating system that kind of permeates geographic boundaries. The key to it is a portal, and that is entry into a different universe. And the App Store is entry into a bunch of different metaverses. And I think the reason the Facebook metaverse, or the Zuckerverse, if you will, is going to fail is that the Oculus is selling somewhere between 3 and 5 million units. There were 60 million pairs of Crocs sold last year. There were 130 million AirPods sold. It's this thing, the central server, and then the AirPods that are going to be your portal to other universes. So I think the metaverse will be a big deal, but I think it's going to be the Appleverse, not the Zuckerverse. I think the Oculus is more prophylactic, Richard, ensuring no one will get near you.
Right. But the reality is that if one looks at the market overall, and I've got a dozen people now on this program, all who are saying there's something smelly and it's going to go wrong next year. You talk about the bubble and the pop, but what does that mean in reality for ordinary people? What does that mean?
That's a correct question. I want to be clear. It's economists have predicted 9 of the last 3 recessions and 7 of the last 3 corrections. And the bottom line is I don't know. We know that 2000 is coming, or we're fairly confident 2000 is coming. The question is it 1997 right now or 1999? I do think you're seeing a reattachment to fundamentals, especially among meme stocks, where people are deciding that a theater chain is probably not worth more than many media companies that have much more robust businesses, that GameStop probably isn't worth more than a lot of very profitable growing retailers. So I think you're probably going to see a reattachment to fundamentals, which over the long haul or even the medium term seem to rear that ugly head. Now, whether that happens this quarter or in 3 quarters, you could argue it's already happening, Richard. Most SPACs are well off their 50-week highs. I think over half of them are more than 50% off their 52-week highs. But it does feel like we're in the midst of a reattachment to fundamentals.
You see, one could argue, and never mind that the Dow's at a record today. If you look at the components and you look at the Nvidias, you look at Microsoft, you look at Snaps and Twitters, they are down 30, 40, 40%. So there's a strong argument for saying, if this isn't the pop, I don't think I want to see it when it happens.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, and I get a lot of grief for this, but Richard, keep in mind, Tesla could drop 80% and it would still be worth more than General Motors and Ford combined. The electric vehicle market, if you take Tesla, Rivian, and Lucid, are worth more than I think the top 8 automobile manufacturers, and throwing Boeing and Airbus. So there's a lot of air that could still be let out of this balloon.
How do you then properly value these stocks other than the old-fashioned way, earnings per share, future earnings stream, all the things that are very unfashionable?
Well, again, this is going to sound like a boomer comment, Richard, and I think you and I are about the same age. I think fundamentals over the long term are going to rear their heads again. What's typically happened is that throughout the history of the Dow, most of the time, there's a difference between pricing and valuation. And the pricing recently has been more a function of kind of 80% story and 20% fundamentals for most of these stocks. And typically throughout history, most companies have a set of peers and they trade within a certain range based on the kind of vision of the CEO. And it's somewhat flipped. Now there's literally story stocks where it's almost impossible. I mean, Rivian hasn't delivered a car yet, and it has the value of General Motors. So it's become all about story. So I wonder if we're going to flip back to less about the story and more about the fundamentals. And also, stocks tend to trade, the most vulnerable stocks, I believe, they usually trade on fundamentals or technicals, a short squeeze, what have you. But we have this new phenomena of kind of the mob squeeze, or they trade on a movement. I wonder if the stocks driven by movements, if you will, or so-called movements in 2021 are gonna register the greatest pain.
We'll be watching closely. www.profgalloway.com. 5 o'clock, you'll have the predictions. I do like the way you have the predictions, and also you're quite open about how well or badly you did. And by the way, the beauty of Google, no, I'm older than you, Scott. I've got 2 years on you. I'll be 60 this year. You will merely be a young 58.
There you go. There you go. I can learn a lot from you, Richard. Happy birthday.
On the, I think it's the other way around. I'm under no illusions about that, Scott. Thank you, Professor. Good to have you with us.